Hi channel members. So we're going to get a real fast reading here, and if you want to gift this reading to the public side, feel free to cast a vote for public or private down below. If it's private, then that will stay here with you guys, but since it is the holidays, I figured I'd give you the opportunity to give this as a gift if you want to. Tomorrow morning I will check the comment section and tally up the results, and if it's if the majority says public, then I will post this tomorrow for the public side. Okay. Channel members, if you're new to channel memberships, the readings on this side are a little bit more specific. So if we don't get you this time, maybe we'll get you next time. Okay. Taking a step aside. And allowing spirit to pass through me. Opening up to receive information. Okay. Getting kind of like this juggling. It's like a juggling energy, but it's like chaos and confusion. It's like on one moment I'm really chill, the next moment I'm super not chill. And one moment I'm kind of tired and drained, and then the next moment I've got all this energy and I'm excited. And one moment I'm super inspired, and the next moment I don't care about anything. And underneath that is this layer that feels a little bit like the reading I did for the public end today, of a little bit of a volatile energy, just a little bit of sharpness in there. And some of you, it may not be sharpness, it might be sadness, okay? Okay. And, you know, the interesting thing about this is that we don't often have times like we have here at the end of this year, where so much of the energy is supporting some sort of personal growth and personal evolution. And it doesn't mean that it's supporting action right now. There's been moments, where pockets of time that we're supporting action, but here in the end of December, when I'm posting this, if you're watching it when I'm posting it, and this I'm going to go ahead and say that this part right here is not timeless. This little pocket of energy that we're experiencing right now, it's a shifting and it's a purging. It's a purging that's happening because the energies are supporting our growth. The thing is that this has actually been going on since that black moon in Lilith that took place, and I believe that took place at the beginning of August. I've been saying for the longest time on this channel that this like time period is really important, and it's leading us into spring, which is going to be very important too. And I'm feeling that everything from the end of last summer all the way to this coming spring, it's people are making major shifts inside of their lives. And we don't often have, and I'm not speaking from an astrological standpoint, but if you know the astrology to support this, feel free to say it in the comments. I'm speaking from a purely psychic, energetic level. There is a lot of energy supporting growth and change and transformation inside this collective. The type of change that only comes around like once every so often, okay? This is the time to utilize it. If you haven't been utilizing it, this is the time to get out of your own way, right? One of the ways that we sabotage ourselves from this sort of support is when we're stuck inside of a victim mentality. When we're stuck inside of a victim mentality and we're just so caught up on what other people have done to us, and, you know, and it's not that it's not valid. Okay, I'm not saying that it's not valid. I'm sure for you it's absolutely valid. But when that's where your focus is going, instead of how can I make my life better now? Let me do things to make my life better now. Let me make better choices in terms of people. Let me see what red flags I should have paid attention to. Let me see, you know, how I can better protect myself. Let me see what areas of myself that might have been mirroring back to me, right? When we don't do that, we're not in a dynamic energy. When we're in a victim mentality and we're pointing our fingers around at everybody else, or when we're afraid to do anything for ourselves, okay? One of the ways you know if you're too afraid to do things for yourself is if you're constantly looking for external validation, if you're always watching tarot readings to tell you what's coming next, right? Or if you're trying to watch tarot readings to tell you that every choice that you're making inside your life is the right choice. This, you know, if you are in that camp, and I know a lot of people are in that camp, take a break. Really, take a break. Like, sanity checks are important. Sanity checks are important when dealing with online tarot. When we get into these sorts of energies, this is a more destructive energy. This is not a constructive energy. It's a very destructive energy. When you're in a destructive energy, no amount of support that the universe is trying to give you is ever going to manifest for you, right? Because you're constantly outputting a destructive energy, and all that destructive energy is going to do is it's going to cast a reflection of destruction into the mirror. Your universe is the mirror, right? When I say universe on this channel, what I really mean is like your subconscious mind, right? Your own psyche. Your psyche is trying to help support you at this time. For me, psyche is a very complex matter. It's not just within us, it's also outside of us. As above, so below. Overall, more channel members, if you're watching this and you've been part of the High Priestess tier, or if you were part of the manifestation course that we recently did in November, you guys have heard me say, what if the external world is your subconscious, right? And if you're an energy worker, think about that, because that'll make sense of some things, like how the astral body lifts out of the body when it sleeps. You'll find little things that kind of point to ideas like that. It's just a fun little thought experiment and a different way to view the world in order to really get a handle on certain things. When we have this constructive energy, we're really allowing ourselves to be supported. So if you're not in that sort of energy, try to shift yourself over into that energy, right? That's not to say that you're not going to be angry at somebody. I actually feel that right now, with this volatile undertone to a lot of the energy and even the sadness that I'm feeling for some of you, I do think that you're focused on the wrongs that somebody did to you, and you have to process that. So it's not about ignoring it. It's not about shoving it under the rug or denying it, right? Allow yourself to process that. But it's an internal knowing that, it's not really about that person. It's about me going forward and living my best life, right? There's something here about becoming flexible, and there's also something here about the truth, right? The truth is not comfortable. The truth is not comfortable. And when we get comfortable with not being comfortable, we align ourselves more to the truth. This is kind of like a mind-boggling concept for most people, because most people, they try to make themselves safe and comfortable their entire lives, right? This is why people stay stuck for most of their lives, because they're doing the things that are comfortable to them. But those things that you're comfortable doing are exactly how you got where you got, right? Maybe you're in a dead-end job, or maybe you keep losing jobs. Doing the same thing you've always done that's comfortable for you to do and just natural to you is just going to wind you up in the same place that you've always been. If you're somebody that you've struggled in your relationships, reacting to people the way that you react, or picking the kinds of people that you pick, or overlooking the red flags that you overlook, you're always going to wind up with the same people. There's something about repetitious patterns and our inability to step outside of them because we're so uncomfortable with the unknown, right? And this is kind of an energy that's coming up, and it's starting now, which is why it's coming out, that it feels like it's really challenging people to step outside those comfort zones. And I think a lot of you, if you've been in that creative, like constructive energy, I feel like you feel more than ready for it, right? You're ready to like meet that challenge. It may be a little bit harder for you if you've spent this time period from that Black Moon and Lilith up until now being in more of a destructive energy. It might be a little harder for you, but you can still do it. You can still do it. There's, with this fluidity and this sort of flexibility, one of the things is that because that comfort is not your authentic self. It's not the highest version of yourself, right? It's not the best that your life can be. It's not the truth. When you think about the truth is extremely uncomfortable. Sometimes truth can be cool, but it's only cool when it aligns with what you want. Most of the time, other people's truths aren't going to align with what you want. I remember when I was younger and I learned about the Federal Reserve, and I learned about the truth about that. Oh my God. That was uncomfortable. There's a lot of things that make us uncomfortable when we learn about the truth about it, right? And just because it makes you uncomfortable doesn't mean that it's not the truth. Just because it's uncomfortable doesn't mean that it's something that's bad. Is the truth really ever bad? The truth just is what it is. And the more that you're able to move into spaces where you're uncomfortable, the more you're going to realize that this is where your authenticity blossoms. Your truth blossoms in the spaces where you're uncomfortable. If you're in a comfortable space where nothing ever challenges you, nothing ever tests you, nothing ever happens to you, you're not really growing. You're not really growing. And that doesn't mean that you have to spend your whole life having anxiety and worry. It's because that's still the mindset of somebody that is trying to stay comfortable, right? It's about growing and evolving and becoming emotionally mature enough to handle uncomfortable situations and to understand that this is just life. And that just because it's uncomfortable doesn't mean it has to be horrible. It doesn't mean that it has to be something that you allow to like take a piece of you, right? It means that there is a beautiful balance between respecting your own emotions and your own feelings about something and understanding, I'm seeing the truth. There's a heavy, heavy element of illumination that's kind of like coming into this energy for me as I'm saying all of this. It's like someone here, you're being illuminated in new ways. There's like these cycles and patterns that someone has spent a very long time trying to break out of, and you've never been able to do it, but this is the time that you have the supporting energy where you're going to be able to do that. You just have to stop settling and stop playing small. There's something very important about the eclipse season that's coming up in the spring. I'm saying that because I'm noticing the backs of the cards. Okay, so let's see. We have honor, loyalty. We had this card come up the other day, and so it's kind of speaking to me again about the same thing, right? Are we loyal to things that maybe we shouldn't necessarily be loyal to? You know, are we? This is kind of like the funny thing about us as human beings, right? We want to, and I'm going to say, especially those of us who are sensitive, right? If you're a sensitive person, like if you consider yourself a sensitive person, or if you're somebody who you feel like you really care about other people's needs and desires and stuff, notice how like you may spend like a lot of your life really trying to protect yourself from uncomfortable things, but then when you have a person around you that makes your life miserable, you hold on, right? Isn't that kind of funny? Just something to think about there. But for her, she's just kind of like holding on to this little baby alligator, like, WTF? Why am I holding on to this? And she doesn't look too terribly happy about it, but she's holding on to it anyway, and it's looking at her like, meh. And yeah, I don't always see this way when I look at this card, but the last few times I've pulled this card, it's really what it's saying to me. I think that if there are relationships that you still have inside of your life that are like that are maybe not mutual, right? So you're always there to help other people, or they always expect you to help them, or your needs are always put on the back burner, and then when it's your time to need somebody, they're not really around, or to make it difficult for you to ask for help. I think that you're not necessarily going to keep those relationships in the same sphere of closeness, the same proximity going forward. It's like this message, it feels very much like whoever it's for, because of this flexibility and this comfort with being uncomfortable, someone's learning how to let things go, how to let people go, right? You may have been raised to think that that was like a really negative thing, or you may have had abandonment issues, which caused you to believe that letting go of people and abandoning other people is a really negative thing, and it's not. It's a good exercise of your time, your energy, your efforts, your boundaries, your mental peace. Here we have be the light, and it's interesting that they're saying that when it's this mermaid who's underwater, the siren, right? And so what that's kind of saying to me is that, and I think this came out on the public end also, it's this energy of once you are really, sure of yourself and standing in your own light and in your own authenticity, you are going to attract people that find that energy very magnetic, right? And that's not always going to be the best people. So remember the lessons that you've learned. Remember the lessons that you've learned going forward. Don't fall under the false idea that a lot of spiritual people have, that once they've raised their vibe, that everybody else's vibe has raised too. People are always going to be people. The point isn't that they've changed. The point is that you've changed. Okay, and on the bottom here we have Lear, cherish your unique voice. And I feel like this is really what this is about. Somebody here, heavy themes on authenticity, heavy themes on standing up for yourself, heavy themes on really kind of self-expression and how you express yourself and who you express yourself to. Remember, not everybody deserves your truth. okay? A lot of people think that to be an authentic person, that means you have to be totally truthful with everybody all the time, and that you have to, you know, be all out all the time, and that's not really what authenticity means. Authenticity means that you understand who you are, and you understand and value your energy, right? You're showing up in your true self, your true manner, living your life in your truest way. Why would you give your truth and those vulnerable spaces of yourself to somebody who could use them and weaponize them, right? So there's something here about understanding a little bit more about your own self-protection and where that boundary should be. I think that if you have been this person, you probably don't need to worry about overprotecting in most situations. There might be some situations where you do have to worry about that, but I do think that somebody here needs to hear that you don't necessarily deserve to give this space away that offers someone the truth if they've been showing up this energy, right? Anybody who demands your energy, like, oh my God, if you were like a high vibe person, or if you were spiritual, you would just give all this space and give all this energy and do all these things. And if you don't, then I think you're a terrible person and all this stuff. That tells you a lot. That's what you need to know. That's what you need to know. And I'm going into this because I feel like that's what somebody's been dealing with. That's a very gaslighty energy that's basically telling you don't have boundaries, you shouldn't have boundaries, you shouldn't hold space for yourself, you shouldn't do what your intuition tells you to do, you should do what I want you to do, you should, you know, lower your boundaries so that I get to say what I want and I get to have my questions answered. Think about that. Think about that. Some of you really have somebody around you that doesn't need to be around you. I do feel that some of you, actually, this is an individual that has been in the past, because I do think you've moved into this light energy, but they're showing up in this reading. So you might still have that energy pawing at you, maybe even from a psychic space, right? If that's the case, try to pull your mental energy away. Try to pull that psychic energy away. Anytime you notice that psychic energy in terms of like overthinking about it or being angry about it, you don't really know why, and you feel that kind of leaving you, pull it back, right? I call my psychic energy back to myself. You know, say something like that for yourself that feels powerful to you, and allow yourself to take some time to do something just for you. Sometimes when we do that, right, when we have that psychic energy leaking over to somebody because they're pawing at us and they want that attention. I'm not speaking about if you have issues with rumination and limerence anyway, because if you do, again, don't point fingers at other people. You want to look at yourself first. But if you're not somebody that struggles with limerence or rumination, then you know, it's a good time to ask yourself, especially if you are a psychic person who picks up on other people's thoughts and feelings regularly, it's a really good time to ask yourself, what is going on that my energy is able to be pulled out of myself? Because what I've noticed oftentimes with people is that they have gotten caught up in the doldrum of life, or inside of, you know, being a couch potato, or all the various things we do as people to fill up our time. They haven't spent enough time with that inner child. And so that inner child is grasping on to the attention it's getting from external energies. That's not always the case, but I notice that that does tend to be the case quite often. And when a person does something to satisfy that inner child and has a little conversation with it, like, hey, attention's fine, not from over there, stop that, and has a very stern like talking to with that aspect of themselves, it tends to stop. So again, it's not going to work for you if you already struggle with rumination and limerence, because if you're struggling with rumination and limerence, you don't know that it's the other person. One of the things that I'm also seeing in this is there's like this crashing of waves things, and I'm seeing these three women. I'm almost seeing them as, well, I am seeing them as the fates, right? There's something very, again, that supporting energy kind of coming through. It's something that's faded. It's like a, okay. It's basically when we're stepping into this more authentic version of ourselves here with Be the Light. There's this sort of change in the tune of our experience, right? So I've talked about spiritual energy that we put off, our vibration. I've talked about that in terms of like a scent, a fragrance, and also a song. And that's what I'm seeing here with the lyre. It's almost like playing a different song. And because it's playing a different song, reality starts to mirror a different thing. So it's like changing fate. And I just saw a hand up. And it's because certain things are no longer tolerated. This is interesting because this is kind of similar to, I think, 2 messages ago, it was something similar to this. I'm getting I don't remember my messages really well after I do them, so it may have been longer than that, but I think it was like this 2 of them ago. There's something about putting an end to some sort of cycle that keeps repeating. I'm noticing my labradorite that's in here. And so I think that somebody who's really worked on their emotional balance, emotional health. And I'm getting caught on health. So you may be also coming into a place where now that you've worked on your emotional health, you're ready to work on your physical health. Someone's stepping into a phase where, like, as they're working through these emotional health, physical health, and it's almost like a door opening to a new phase. And it's like whoever this message is for, you're aware of that. You can feel it. You know that you're calling other things in. It's this feeling of, I'm trusting my intuition. And I do feel that there is a distinction here in the energy between intuition and feelings. They're not the same thing. They're not the same thing. Someone here, you've gotten in tune with your intuition. Your intuition can use your feelings as a tool, but your intuition is not feelings, right? That's anybody that talks about intuition being your feelings, like they may not understand the depth of intuition. And when you talk about your intuition, this manifests in many ways. It can manifest in your thoughts. It can manifest in like just these sudden knowings of this is where I need to be, right? It's not even a feeling. It's just a knowing of something. It can manifest in seeing like something repeat in reality, in a synchronicity, and understanding why that's repeating, right? It's not always your feelings. And someone's starting to learn to trust their intuition because your intuition is trying to guide you. For some of you, this is extending even deeper than normally conceived intuitions, and it feels a little bit like it's how your body responds to things. So for example, maybe you're somebody that when you connect to people, you tend to have anxiety and you've always brushed it away, but then later on those same people took from you or did different things to you, and you look back and you're like, man, like I wish I would have trusted my body, the way that my body responded. Your intuition may be speaking to you through your nervous system. Yeah, okay, I think that's the message. So just a lot of like little odds and ends about some sort of chaotic energy, how you're actually being supported and changing certain things that maybe you weren't necessarily happy about, or places where you felt like you were stuck. And yeah, so I'm going to leave this here. Whoever's message this is, I hope that this resonates with you. And if it does, feel free to like this video. And until next time, and I hope you guys have a happy holidays.